The scariest demons aren't under your bed. They're inside your head. Welcome to the darker side of the human mind. This is Hollow Angels.
The coffee was lukewarm, just like the marriage. Arthur adjusted his tie in the rearview mirror, staring at the bags under his eyes. They looked like bruises. Inside the house, the beige two-story colonial in the suburbs that he had spent 15 years paying for, the chaos was just starting. He could hear the muffled scream of his 6-year-old, Leo, refusing to wear shoes. He could imagine Sarah, hair frazzled, frantically searching for car keys that were already in her hand. He didn't go inside to help. He didn't check his watch. Arthur put the car in drive, pulled out of the driveway, and drove toward the city. But he didn't go to the office. He didn't go to the firm, where he was just Penn Halligan from accounting, a man whose existence was defined by spreadsheets and silent compliance. He drove to the bridge. He parked the car. He left his phone, his wallet, and his wedding ring on the passenger seat. Then, he walked 3 miles to a prepaid rental apartment he had secured 2 weeks ago with cash. It was a studio on the 3rd floor of a crumbling brick building. It had one window, and that window looked directly into his own living room across the street. For the first week, the high was better than heroin. Arthur sat in the dark, eating cold canned soup, watching the drama unfold through a pair of high-powered binoculars. It was cinematic. It was perfect. He watched the police cars swarm the driveway, their red and blue lights washing over the manicured lawn like a bruised pulse. He saw Sarah collapse on the front porch, her knees giving way as the detective held up the plastic bag containing his wallet. "Cry for me," Arthur whispered, pressing his hand against the cold glass of his hideout. "Show me I mattered." He watched his neighbors, the ones who never returned his wave, bring casseroles and flowers. He watched his brother, who hadn't called in 3 years, pacing the living room, looking distraught. Arthur felt a surge of dark, twisted vindication. He wasn't the invisible man anymore. He was the center of the universe. He was the void that everyone was terrified of. He slept on a mattress on the floor, dreaming of their tears. It was the first time in years he felt powerful. Month 2 was different. The police cars stopped coming. The neighbors stopped bringing lasagna. The grease process, Arthur learned, was annoyingly efficient. He watched Sarah sit at the dining table late at night. For the first few weeks, she would just stare at his empty chair, a glass of wine in her hand. Arthur would trace the outline of her silhouette from across the street, feeling a pang of longing, but pushing it down. Not yet, he told himself. Let them miss me a little more. But then the routine shifted. He saw Sarah laughing on the phone. It was a short laugh, quickly stifled, but it was there. He saw Leo playing video games in the living room, no longer asking when Daddy was coming home. The house wasn't falling apart without him. The lawn was getting mowed by a service. The gutter was fixed by a handyman. The silence he left behind wasn't a gaping wound. It was just space, room to breathe. Arthur started pacing his small studio. The air in there was stale, smelling of unwashed clothes and obsession. He looked in the mirror. He had grown a beard. He looked like a drifter. He looked like nobody. "I need to go back," he muttered. "They need me." But looking through the lens, he saw Sarah dancing in the kitchen while cooking. She was listening to jazz, something Arthur hated, so she never played it. She looked younger, lighter. It was raining on the night he decided to return. A heavy, cinematic rain that slicked the asphalt and blurred the streetlights. It had been 6 months. Arthur shaved the beard. He put on the spare suit he'd stashed in the apartment. He practiced his speech. A fugue state, he would say. A breakdown. I don't remember anything, Sarah. I just woke up and came home. He would be the survivor, the miracle. They would weep, and he would hold them, and he would never feel invisible again, because he knew what it was like to be truly gone. He walked out of the apartment building, the rain soaking him instantly. He crossed the street. The house glowed warm and golden against the storm. It looked like a sanctuary. He reached the front porch. His hand trembled as he reached for the doorbell. He didn't use his key. He wanted them to open it for him. But before he pressed the button, he looked through the bay window. The family was at the dinner table. Sarah was there, wearing a blue dress he had never seen. Leo was there, talking excitedly with his mouth full. And there was a man. He was sitting in Arthur's chair. It wasn't a lover. It wasn't a boyfriend. It was Arthur's brother, David. But it wasn't a somber visit. David was making a joke, gesturing with a fork. Sarah threw her head back, laughing. A genuine, deep belly laugh that Arthur hadn't extracted from her in a decade. Leo was looking at his uncle with pure adoration. The table was full. The food looked hot. The atmosphere was warm. Arthur stood frozen, the rain dripping off his nose. He waited for the pang of betrayal, the anger. But what hit him was far worse. It was the realization that he wasn't a missing piece of the puzzle. He was a blockage that had finally been cleared. The scene inside wasn't one of mourning. It was one of relief. They weren't surviving his absence. They were thriving in it. The tension that had defined the house, the walking on eggshells, the silent resentments, the grey suffocation of Arthur's unhappiness was gone. Arthur raised his hand to the glass. Inside, Sarah stood up to clear the table. She paused, looking toward the window, seemingly staring right at him. Arthur held his breath. "See me," he begged silently. "See me and scream." Sarah looked through the rain-streaked glass, through Arthur's reflection, and simply reached up to pull the curtains closed. Swish. The golden light was gone. Arthur was left standing in the dark on his own porch, holding a speech for an audience that had already left the theater. He didn't ring the bell. Arthur turned around, the water squelching in his expensive shoes, and walked back across the street to the cold, empty room where he belonged. He had staged a disappearance, but he had accidentally committed suicide. Did the silence get to you? Like if you felt the chill. Share to haunt a friend. Subscribe for more descents into madness.